Hey everyone, if you've been watching the real estate market for the last few years, you probably felt it. Things have changed. They're not flying off the market anymore. It is obviously taking longer for homes to sell. There are more homes selling. And so there's a lot of questions like what's happening? People are wondering, are we going in the wrong direction? Are we going in the right direction? What's happening here? So we're Lynne and Joseph with Saltmarsh Properties. We're a local husband-wife real estate team here in Charleston. And we just wanted to take an opportunity to answer some of the questions as it relates to some important parts of the real estate market, both here in Charleston as well as nationally.
Yeah, so hopefully you've seen some of our other YouTube videos. We have this YouTube channel we've started to just try to deliver some content and talk about what we experience as a husband-wife team, both our own real estate experiences, helping others buy and sell. So let's talk first with the national picture, specifically the last few years. Like Joseph said, there was a surge in 20 and 21, and we saw home sales peak, but then they began to decline as interest rates rose. So more recently, sales have recently settled into the low 4 million range annually. That's a noticeable drop in activity, but it's important to understand why. Higher rates reduced affordability and thus slowed down how many people could transact. But it's not bad news necessarily.
Yeah, of course. I mean, nationally, what we're not seeing is a collapse, right? It was really a slowdown in transactions and fewer homes are being sold, but it doesn't mean that homes were dropping across the board. Actually,
Right.
A lot of markets started to see it come back up. So it's really a reset from an extremely fast-paced market. I mean, we said this all the time in 2021. Gosh, it was like people were drunk. They were just going out and just writing offers on houses, but that's because rates were so low. It was so much less expensive to get money to therefore buy a house.
So one of the smartest things we do and talk about is it might not be the worst idea to try and forget that time because that was unique, right? It's not the ongoing state of the market. But now let's talk about Charleston, specifically locally, right? Because this is where things get interesting. When you look at the closed sales in the Charleston market, you see a similar pattern. Same thing, strong activity leading up to 21, 22, followed by a pullback in the last couple of years. But here's the key difference. Charleston has not seen that same level of slowdown as some of the other national markets, largely because demand here is still being driven by relocation and lifestyle buyers. Charleston's on the map now and people want to live here.
So the main difference that we're seeing actually from locally versus nationally is demand. People want to live here, right? So the demand was still pretty high compared to the rest of the nation.
And we still have limited inventory in many parts of Charleston, especially in desirable areas. And we're doing a couple of videos, so stay tuned. We're going to release them over the next couple of months, talking about that inventory as it relates to what we're talking about in the pricing. Those two things are dovetailing, and it is important to get really educated on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Another difference between nationally and Charleston is this is more of a paused market.
Right.
You have some people that are waiting a little bit. We don't necessarily say that's a great idea because you can never really predict the future, so it could be dangerous to wait. However, they are waiting and not necessarily exiting the market altogether.
And that creates a slower pace, but not necessarily a worse or less market, right?
Yeah.
So the worst thing, like we talked about, the worst thing you can do from our kind of blunt advice is to try to compare this market to 2021.
Yeah.
It was unusually fast, highly competitive market. And what we're in now is a much more balanced market and it's sustainable. So here's a simple way to think about it. There are fewer homes that are selling than a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Yes, the pace has slowed, but in Charleston, demand is still strong and long-term. Those fundamentals are still intact. So this is a shift where, again, you need to have skill, you need to have education. So it's not a collapse and not the sky is falling.
Yeah, 100%. And basically, when you zoom in or on just the last couple of years, the story becomes much clearer. The market has adjusted, and that was a challenge. Again, real estate is a long game, which we've said many times. And if we just look at the last couple of years, that's what scares us. So if we zoom back out, that makes a big difference, right? It makes it a lot more comfortable as we look at the number of homes that sold over time.
So at the end of the day, what we're loving to do is just bring you all the different things that we're having discussions about, both with our clients, also with our own real estate investments, refinancing. What does that look like? So that's what we're here to do. So please take a look at our YouTube channel. We also have a newsletter. We have a blog, text, email, all the ways you can get in touch with us. And we would love to continue this conversation with you and make sure you're educated as we continue to learn the market.
Absolutely. Have a great day.